And he's back, and a good afternoon, everyone. I'm your host, the Westerosi Ninja, and today I will be going over my top Game of Thrones slash Song of Ice and Fire raid party today. That is the team I would assemble to play in a video game and expect to succeed in and ultimately win. And this is a revision to a collaboration I did with the Dawg Show a few months back. But after further reflection and evidence from Season 8, I just knew I had to revise it. So let's go ahead and start. And you're probably wondering what constitutes a raid party. Well, it's a team of 7 characters with separate skill sets that can help me, succeed in a game, basically achieve the goal set forth. And basically it consists of 2 damage dealers. We have a damage dealer that specializes in melee combat, that is hand-to-hand combat, as well as one that specializes in ranged combat, such as with bows and arrows and whatnot. Then you have 2 tanks. You have a main tank. The main tank's primary position is to basically play defense and absorb a lot of damage. He's basically your main line of defense, if you will. So you're looking for somebody who's not necessarily, can basically, go out there and inflict a lot of damage, but you just absorb a lot of damage, sort of like a bullet sponge, if you will. Then you have this kind of another position, which I consider the most versatile of all the positions on the board, and that's called an off tank. Basically, this person can basically, play offense and defense, run around the field, basically start picking off key targets that just happen to get past the main defenses, or kind of go into the enemy's territory and pick off targets there, and then quickly come back out, sort of like a ninja out in the battlefield, if you will. And then you have these 4 other characters, which basically comprise the back line, if you will, of a raid party. And these are like a mage. You also got a healer, a tactician slash strategist. And lastly, because last time it was a kind of a Game of Thrones themed raid party, because I decided just to throw in a direwolf in there just for the heck of it. Mage, is somebody who's sort of like a wizard, right? Who's proficient in the magical arts. Healer, it's pretty much somebody who can help some other character that's low on health and hit points, if you will, and basically revive them and basically increase their health so they can fight on. The tactician strategist is sort of like your general in the battlefield, if you will, and basically they'll be kind of like, they'll affect your morale of your troops and whatnot. And of course, direwolf is self-explanatory, because you got to have a direwolf on the battlefield in order to win any kind of game. And the goal for this raid night last time was basically the best team that we can assemble to beat the Night King. And let's see what I did last time here, because it's always fun looking back. And I thought I did a pretty good job with this. Essentially, my tactician direwolves were Robb Stark and Grey Wind, because Robb Stark was pretty much the only undefeated general in the War of the Five Kings. He's won every battle that he's ever fought. He was only defeated because he had he made really poor decisions about his personal life. And but militarily, tactically, strategically, he was excellent. I mean, who else is undefeated on the battlefield? Okay, now Grey Wind was there because first of all, he had a really cool death, right, where his head was basically popped onto Robb's body and sitting on a horse, which is pretty cool. And also because he took orders like a champ, from Robb, and he was probably the most obedient of all the direwolves that the Starks had. Then for my main tank, we're going into the books here with a guy named Strong Belwas, who is the bodyguard of the personal bodyguard of Daenerys Targaryen. And come on, I mean, being a main tank, he's gigantic, as well as he survived eating a plate of poisoned honey locusts out in Marine, okay, with just like a stomach ache. So Strong Belwas has the it factor in terms of durability. And my off tank, who's a better ninja than Arya Stark, right? She could just run around, pick off targets, key targets at will, on the defensive side as well as the offensive side. My healer was Qyburn. Come on, he raised, Gregor Clegane from the dead. Then we have, close to being dead. And we have Robert Baratheon. He would have been, my main damage dealer on the melee side because nobody was a better melee fighter than prime time Bobby B back in his day, the demon of the trident. He won like all the melee tournaments that he ever basically participated in. Then we had for the range damage dealer, I had one of the best archers in the lore, and that was actually Blood Raven. Okay, so Brendan Rivers, if you will. So that is, he was badass, leader of the Wolf's Teeth, and he was the one that shot down my man, Daemon Blackfire in the Battle of Redgrass Field. Okay, and lastly, for my mage, none other than Makor the Dark. Okay, he's right now traveling in the books with Victorian Greyjoy, heading over to Marine, and this dude is awesome. He can shoot flames out of his staff. You haven't seen that anywhere else, right? In Game of Thrones / A Song of Ice and Fire. You may have seen it in, Lord of the Rings. I think Gandalf shot some flames off his staff, but not in Game of Thrones. So anytime you can shoot flames out of a staff, you're my man in terms of being the mage in a raid party. And again, the goal is to defeat the Night King. So that was my old team, which I thought was a very well thought out and pretty invincible raid party, if you will, in terms of succeeding in its goal of defeating the Night King. It's all changed now upon further reflection. So what I've done now is I'm going to go in order and basically explain my reasons why it's changed. Now, in the position of damage dealer and melee, I would have to say it's Arya Stark right now, right? Because we saw what she did in the Battle of the Long Night at Winterfell with just a stick and two tied up dragonglass spear ends to it. She was just wild, right? She was dealing damage, hand and left, in close quarters. Look at her go in that video clip. Awesome. Nobody else killed as many wives as she did in the whole battle, right? So, not even Grey Worm. So anyway, so in terms of attributes, we also had this kind of list of attributes, what made these characters so good in that particular position. And she was just fives down the road, down the line: combat, durability, intelligence. Magic is not really applicable here as a damage dealer, but I'll give her a 5 anyway, as well as intangibles. So there you go. Arya Stark as my damage dealer in the melee side, hand-to-hand combat. Now let's get into our damage dealer on the range side, and guess who it is? Again, it's Arya Stark, right? Look at her in season 1, how she basically threw shade at her little brother while he was practicing archery, who couldn't hit a broadside of the barn. And yet Arya Stark, from 20 feet, further out, hits the bullseye. And, she has such pizzazz that she actually just, took a bow right afterwards, right? So, good on her. So even from a young tender age of about 9 or 10 years old, she was able to have skill. She had mad skills as an archer. Then in season 3, right, we saw her basically hit a straw dummy right in the nuts. And don't tell me that she was aiming for the head, okay? She was aiming for the nuts, boom, hit it right away, from at least, 35 to 50 feet out, okay? Then in season 8, right before she has sex with Gendry, right, we see her practicing, archery out in Winterfell, in the stable somewhere. And then, we saw her just basically hitting bullseye after bullseyes with her bow and arrow there. So again, she has mad skills. In fact, she showed the most archery skills out of anybody in the show. So in terms of the attributes, just like the damage dealing melee side, I would have to give her all 5s down the road. Magic, again, is, sort of not applicable here. Intelligence isn't as well, but 5s in every other category, definitely. Now let's get into our tanks right now. So let's go first look at our main tank. Okay, we're looking at the damage absorber, the bullet sponge. And who else? It has to be Arya Stark, okay? Think about how durable she is. I mean, she was able to survive a twisting knife in the gut for about 3 seconds, okay, by the wave, okay? Managed to remain conscious through that ordeal, okay? Jump off a bridge into a filthy canal, okay? Really, really filthy. If you knew how filthy canals were in the Middle Ages, you would just like throw up, okay? And she was able to swim in there, okay, for a couple of minutes without, and also stave off any possible infection, miraculously, okay? Then 24 hours later, she's out doing parkour in the streets of Bravos, okay? Now, what does that tell you about her durability and her healing powers, right? Her inherent constitution is off the charts. I mean, nobody can survive this, okay? You'll be in bed for at least 3 or 4 weeks before you can actually start doing parkour again after being, stabbed in the gut with a twisting knife. So, in terms of all the attributes, I would have to say, 5s all the way down. Again, no intelligence, magic, they're, not applicable here, but, everything else, definitely 5s, okay? That's our main tank, the bullet sponge, the damage absorber, the main line of defense. Now let's go look at our ninja on the field, otherwise known as the off tank. Well, that's obvious. It has to be Arya Stark again, and she was my off tank in the previous raid party that I assembled earlier on. And we all know her skills as a ninja, right? Her stealth abilities, her quickness, her speed. She's able to basically pick off targets easily, left and right. And we saw that, in fact, in season 8, the prime example of her ability as a off tank. She was able to basically sneak around an army of whites in the Godswood, okay? Then somehow, find a trampoline to jump off of, okay? Showing her mad skills as an acrobat, slash ninja, and defeat the Night King. Being able to pick off a target, a random target at will. She has it, right? The assassins, right? So off tanks are the assassins of the battlefield, and the best assassin in Game of Thrones has to be Arya Stark. So again, we're gonna give her all 5s on those attributes as well. So let's get into I think it's time for our mage. Okay, I was struggling with this, was it either Melisandre or it could have been someone else? And at the end of the day, it had to be somebody else. And who else but Arya Stark for my mage on my raid party team? Think about what she was able to do using magic. Okay, who else was able to basically, change her appearance by putting on another face, but yet at the same time change her body proportions? Okay, even Jaqen H'ghar didn't do that, right? When we saw him change his face, he was still the same height and the same weight. No, but Arya Stark, she did change her height and she did change, her face, and that involves a lot of glamour, right? A lot of magic, and Melisandre, can't dispute the fact. I can't discount that, she was able to do really cool things, about lighting, the ring, the defensive ring around Winterfell on fire in season 8, as well as lighting all those Dothraki blades on fire. But come on, to be able to change your physical proportions at will like that involves some pretty heavy-duty magical abilities. So, I'm gonna put down Arya Stark for my mage as well. Okay, now, so let's go ahead and let's get into our healer, why don't we, here? And for our healer, surprise, surprise, it's not Arya Stark. In fact, I think right now that I'll change my pick from Qyburn to Lady Crane, because who else has the cabinet of miracle drugs that Lady King can access? I mean, think about that magical milk of the poppy that she gave Arya, right? And then all of a sudden, 12 hours later, she's doing parkour after being stabbed, okay, in the gut with a twisting knife for 3 seconds, then managing to stay conscious and jumping off a bridge into a filthy canal and actually staving off infection, all because of whatever drugs that, she gave Arya, okay? Plus, I'm sure a lot of it had to do with Arya's, unimaginable, constitution and stamina. But besides that, I would, if anybody was close to death on the battlefield, in that raid party, all we need to do is get Lady Crane in there with a bottle of that milk of the poppy that she has, boom, back to 100%, no hit points, and away you go. In fact, not even 100%. I would actually say that it would be more than 100%, maybe 120 or 130% of their normal hit points. So there you go, Lady Crane as my healer on this newly revised team. And, I would give her all 5s as well for combat, even though it's, non-applicable, durability, not applicable, but definitely for intelligence and intangibles. Okay, maybe there's some little bit of magic in there, who knows. So let's go into my strategist slash tactician. And that again is, of course, it's gonna be Arya Stark, okay? Because think about it, her strategy was simple and consistent, right? Kill the house's enemies in the most direct manner possible to solidify Stark control. So she had that strategy, right? Which is basically to solidify Stark control, okay, of Westeros. Okay, they achieved that. How? With very direct tactics. No pussyfooting around like some of these other so-called great tacticians would do. She went to them directly and killed them off just like that, okay? Perfect example, Littlefinger. Boom, killed them off. All of a sudden the Starks are in control of the Vale armies in addition to their own northern armies. Right? You can't beat that, right? I mean, who else did that? Who else is able to take over 2 regions by killing off 1 dude in the most basic manner possible, right? And all the, at the same time, basically achieving her strategic goal, right? Same with killing off the Night King, right? The goal was to basically, again, I believe, to solidify Stark control, right? It ended at Winterfell. Everybody loves the Starks now because they basically stopped the Night King's, dead armies from coming in and basically turning the rest of Westeros into zombies. So, it is Arya Stark, I believe, as the best tactician / strategist. Okay, sorry Rob, but I think your little sister beat you here. So definitely 5s all down the line again, especially on the intangible side, because everybody loves Arya. So with that, if everybody loves you, your troops are gonna have really, really good morale, and they'll fight harder for you. There you go. Arya Stark as my tactician strategist. And lastly, I believe, who will be the direwolf on my new raid party? And sorry, Grey Wind, even though that shot of your head being sewed onto Rob's body and basically being, run around the twins on a horse was pretty cool. Everybody auto-phrased, basically chanting, high praises and whatnot. It has to be Nymeria, because look at the growth that Nymeria exhibited through the entire series, right? She was basically a little lost puppy based on her little quizzical look, okay, back in season 1. Then she becomes this fearsome, leader of wolves, right? In season 7, where we last see her, even Arya Stark, who is basically, who makes up the majority of my new team, has to bow down to Nymeria. So, if she bows down to Nymeria, so does the Night King. So there you have it. And that is my revised list for this time in terms of my Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice or raid party. And you can see what my team looks like right now. It's all Aryas. The healer, Lady Crane helped a little, she definitely helped in terms of giving her magical milk to Poppy, but I believe that Arya had such superb constitution and stamina that she could be her own healer. But for others, I'll give it to Lady Crane. If there were if the other team, in my old team, I would have to change it to Lady Crane, right? Because they would absorb damage, so you would have to put it over there. And couldn't get a good picture of the direwolf, sorry, in this slide, because I didn't want to change it. So there you go. That is pretty much it. And now why, again, just to summarize, why do I pick Arya? Well, again, unmatched fighting abilities, right? You got water dancing with Sir Farrell, then you had this brawling internship, right, with the Hound and Brienne of Tarth, right? So hand-to-hand combat, check. And she already had natural talents as an archer, so check on the ranged combats. Magical know-how, right? She finished her studies, unlike Sam Tarly. In Bravos at the House of Black and White, she learned how to fight blind and basically, develop magical face-changing abilities from the greatest assassins of all time, the Faceless Men. Fighting blind helps you out when you're an off-tank, You know, especially when they're roaming around the dark godswood and basically be able to find a hidden trampoline somewhere behind the railroad tree. Strategy and tactics. Okay, she sat at the feet of Tywin Lannister, okay, one of the greatest generals in history, and secretly learned strategy and tactics from him. Okay, nobody else had a better role model in terms of strategy and tactics than Arya Stark during her time as cupbearer to Tywin Lannister in the show. Okay, and lastly, but most importantly, she had the plot armor, right? With that plot armor, you can definitely be on my team anyway. And that's it, guys. Thanks a lot for stopping by, and I will see you later. Bye.
Ninja JK, dupla jinx, bota chakra em cada linha de faca. Faz macramé no micado, base espadas por frases. Sintático, repara no que diga, é paradigmático. Não tenho paralelo, sou para lá de mágico. Sabes como rolo, martelo pneumático. Técnica secreta do monstro roxo. Estamos a meter-nos no dojo, estamos a manter comos no jogo. Só com uma espada nos tojos. Plano picado, não sabes de onde esta ave vem. Nenhum radar pode detectar onde está a nave mãe. Tu sabes bem. Somos a clique, somos o clã. É Monster Jinx cabrão, respeito ao vais comer tartan. Na terra do nunca não digo banzai. Vivo na espunca e tenho um bonsai. Ninja que é ninja, ninja, frotas imperiais. E bate mal, logo bate mais. A minha crew não sem espelhos. Na rua, dragão azul, dragão vermelho. Sento o silêncio. Verso shinobi, nunca me canso. Sou de Nairobi, ágil como um ninja. Rápido como um ninja, letal como um ninja. Brutal como um ninja, fatal como um ninja. Forte como um ninja, secreto como um ninja. Devo mesmo ser um ninja.
Esta é para os meus ninjas, só para os meus ninjas. Onde é que estão os meus? Ninjas, ninjas, ninjas. Ninjas, ninjas. Ninjas, ninjas, ninjas. Esta é para os meus ninjas, só para os meus ninjas. Onde é que estão os meus?